Thanks for staying with us, everyone, on this Saturday morning. I'm Matt Smith.
And I'm Rebecca Schultz.
We were just talking about the Lego story and how much we missed it. Is your phone off?
Oops.
Oh boy, she's getting tweets and texts and
That's
messages.
because I just mentioned
She just
it.
got Twitter, and now everyone's blowing up her Twitter page. We can't even do a forecast around here anymore.
Yeah, I know. Let's seriously, like we're doing a show right now, but I just haven't figured it out yet. That's why my phone's going off, so I apologize. And it's mostly because we've got some news coming up here on Action 2 News, a little behind the scenes action that we're going to be sharing with you later on. So retweeting Matt's tweets.
We'll do weather
He's starting this morning.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes, Rebecca. Just some headlines this morning. A Fond du Lac County woman who made national headlines for becoming the first person in history to survive rabies without a vaccine has a second brush with that deadly virus this week. Back in 2004, then 15-year-old Gina Giese contracted the virus while trying to rescue an injured bat at her church. Though she beat the odds and lived, she had to relearn how to walk, talk, and chew. Then this week, now 24 years old, Giese had a second encounter with a rabid bat who was in a cage with her dogs.
I was kind of crushed, not because of anything with me or anything, but just because my dogs, you know.
Giese says her dogs have been vaccinated and now have to be quarantined for 60 days. For now, she's just grateful that she knew what to do this time and that the rabies was detected early. The Brown County Health Department says a dead bird tests positive for West Nile virus. Health officials are not saying when or where the bird was found, but says it's the first one to test positive for the virus since the county started its surveillance back in May. Officials say mosquitoes acquire the virus by feeding on infected birds, and they can pass it on to humans. The majority of people who become infected with West Nile don't get sick, though, but officials say those who do usually experience a fever, a headache, or rash. Wisconsin wildlife officials are under fire this morning after they remove a fawn from a no-kill shelter in Kenosha and euthanize it. An Illinois family brought the fawn to the St. Francis Society shelter thinking she had lost her mother. Staff at the shelter named the deer Giggles and grew attached to her. Then 2 weeks ago, 9 DNR agents showed up at the shelter with a search warrant and told staff that it's illegal to keep wild animals in Wisconsin. Employees told the agents the fawn was scheduled to be transferred to an animal preserve in Illinois the next day, but DNR agents removed the deer and they took it away.
I was thinking in my mind, well, yeah, they're going to take the deer and take it to a wildlife shelter. And then here they come carrying the baby deer over their shoulder like a bag. She was in a body bag. I said, why did you do that? He said, well, it's our policy. And I said, well, that's one hell of a policy.
DNR agents are defending themselves, saying state law does require euthanization because wild animals could spread disease, although they say they do sympathize with that shelter. Minneapolis' police chief says the department will work to rebuild the public's trust after a pair of racially charged incidents involving off-duty officers. One of those two altercations happened in Green Bay. Back in late June, Green Bay police were called downtown. You see this in squad video after at least one of the Minneapolis officers yelled a racial slur at a number of black men and then punched one. Those two officers later went to the Green Bay police station to complain that the other men hadn't been arrested. Neither Minneapolis officers were arrested, but the Minneapolis Police Department was notified. Both officers are placed on administrative leave. The defense rests in the trial of mob boss James Whitey Bulger, but not before a major courtroom outburst. Yesterday, Bulger shouted at the judge, calling the trial a sham. The Boston mob boss is charged with 19 murders, but he says he had an immunity deal with the now deceased federal prosecutor Jeremiah O'Sullivan. Bulger refused to testify in his own defense, claiming he didn't get a fair trial. His defense team has argued Bulger was an FBI informant. Closing arguments are expected to start on Monday. Practice moves into Lambeau Field tonight for the annual Packers Family Night. The event is sold out again this year, meaning more than 70,000 fans are expected to pack the stadium. The inter-squad scrimmage kicks off, starts around 7:30. The team is going to start warm-up drills on the field around 6:30 tonight. And tonight marks the first big test for those new security restrictions imposed by the NFL this summer. You can take seat cushions as long as they have no zippers, pockets, or armrests. No backpacks, large purses, or diaper bags are allowed in. But you can take a clutch the size of your hand or 1 gallon or smaller clear plastic bags. Well, the crowd heading to Family Night is typically different than a regular game. Police, though, are reminding everyone these new rules do apply this weekend.
That's the last thing any police officer would ever want to do is disappoint a kid. But we have rules to follow. Our message is to get the message out there, to educate people and to work with them so that they can have an enjoyable family night experience.
All right, if you didn't miss all of that, we have a complete list of all these restrictions and the new rules. Just head on over to WBAY.com. For the 22nd time, a Packers player will be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. 72-year-old Dave Robinson will join the ranks of the best to ever put on the pads later today. Robinson was one of the best defenders of all time and a pivotal part of Lombardi's dynasty back in the 60s. He retired after winning 3 NFL championships over the course of a 12-year career. Ellen DeGeneres will be back for a second time to host the Academy Awards. The comedian and TV host first hosted the Oscars back in 2007. She was nominated for an Emmy for the job she did. She's going to bring a different tone than last year's host, Seth MacFarlane, whose edgy performance drew some mixed reviews. The 86th Annual Academy Awards will air March 2nd right here on TV2. Waking up, it has risen to some low 60s. We were in the 50s a bit earlier, but we have sunshine, maybe a few clouds, but the main key phrase here, Rebecca, this weekend is sun, right?
Yeah, that's right.